Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like the Nat Coon Show, your go-to NFL pod with some of the biggest names in American football. The regular season is done. The race for the Super Bowl is on. So now it is win or go home, and we have got you covered. Smart takes, big guests, and all the drama you can handle as the race to make it to Santa Clara heats up. So search the Nat Coon Show and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest voices in sport. Let's take a look at some of the lineup. The Anfield Wrap.
Liverpool are not equipped. That is a deliberate decision, and for me that is deeply unacceptable.
Football cliches.
Turns out that Rudy Voller was born son of Rachel and Derek Voller from Basildon and Hainault.
Tennis Unfiltered.
If Sinner and Alcaraz are turning up to tournaments and are bothered 99% of the time, one of them's going to win it.
All on Europe's biggest sport podcast network. Find your next favourite sport podcast. Search Sports Social Podcast Network and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Verified comparison at content.sport-social.co.uk/comparison. Find the biggest voices in sports on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Like the Nat Coon Show, where the stage is well and truly set. It is Super Bowl time, people, and we are your all-access pass to everything. All the key matchups you need to know about, plus all the hype you can handle from the biggest show on earth. So get set for the biggest game in sports. Search the Nat Coon Show and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to How We're the Podcast, and we're shaking it up this week as we're hoping to drop a little special opposition preview on the morning of the game if all goes well. So we decided to give you a little bit extra the day before the game, since we're recording before the manager's press conference, which we always like to reference as well. So today is going to be part Q&A, where we attempt to answer some of your questions that you lovely people have put out there for us on the socials, and we'll also preview the game ahead. Maybe not so much, because it doesn't get much harder than heading to Premier League leaders Arsenal, who are, of course, leading the way in the Premier League, but are in the last 16 of the Champions League, and they've also reached the League Cup final in midweek. So it's lucky that I have an optimistic gentleman with me today to answer your questions and give us some hope of taking something away from the Emirates at the weekend, because I have Ant Waterson with me. Hello, Ant.
Hello. Yes, ever the optimist. I may struggle to get some plus points about away at Arsenal, but you never know. It's 11 against 11 at the end of the day in football. So, but all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, well, I'm still good, mate. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of still, getting on towards the end of the week. Of course, we're looking forward to this game, but we're talking about the kind of the mountain that we have to climb to maybe get something. But to be fair, I'm still basking in the glow of a big win on Monday. I mean, it was about as routine as it gets, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we mentioned it at the Palace game as well. It was the last home game before, where it did seem a bit routine. And yeah, Burnley, it was a weird, obviously being there, it was a weird atmosphere, because obviously we went 1-0 up quite early on, and you saw quite quickly that Burnley weren't at the races at all, and you knew it was just a matter of how many we were going to get. So it was a bit strange, because we weren't brilliant. Well, we played well, but we didn't play anywhere near our best. But it was nice to see Diarra, I'm giving the first goal to him. I'm not playing. Whoever took that away is a very cruel person, but good to see him, running onto Broby's flicks and everything like that. And a really good performance, and great to see Talby getting a goal to stadium right as well. And what a goal it was. Beautiful finish. So yeah, really, really pleasing. As you say, the fact that these results are becoming like routine performances, routine wins, shows how far we've come.
Yeah. Thinking back to that Burnley game, because a lot of the discussion afterwards was, bringing Burnley into the equation, because it's always, and I said a couple of times after the game that it's not often you just swat someone aside in the Premier League 3-0 and do it that convincingly. But Burnley did come into the equation and did come into the conversation because they were so bad. But I was trying to work this out myself and trying to work out what we took away from the game, because yes, we were so comfortable, but God, Burnley, I mean, even they admitted, like Scott Parker and Kyle Walker after the game, completely look dejected, like, that wasn't their normal levels of performance, even, that they haven't been getting results, haven't won in 14 or something like that. But what did you take out of it?
There's not much to take out of it, isn't there? As we said, probably the Habib Diarra performance was really, really pleasing because obviously we haven't seen a lot of him. I think it was the first time I've seen him at the stadium, right? Because I missed the first game of the season. I hadn't seen him much at the Stadium of Light. And I'd seen him obviously Burnley away, which was probably the reverse, where we weren't at the races and they were. But obviously him getting these goals, because it shows that he's obviously hungry to get in them positions and put the ball away, which he did on a couple of occasions. So that was good to see that. And obviously, another clean sheet, which was excellent. I mean, Ross could have been sitting having a crack with the fans, couldn't he? In row one, he would have been all right. But a clean sheet was good. Good to see Ronaldo back to his best. And obviously, Noni Mukiele, I thought, was absolutely outstanding. What a signing he's proved to be. Up and down, up and down. I mean, he took some hits as well, didn't he? He got clattered a couple of times, at the fact he's getting up and he's limping on and everything. The fact he's just still willing to run that extra mile. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And then obviously the big man up front didn't get a goal, but his all-around play is so good. He's getting better and better every time you see him, isn't he, Broby? And next season, I think you're looking at a striker who I think will be up there in the charts, like with the Haalands and all that. Because I think once he gets used to the league a bit more, and once we get players who can run off him like what Diarra does, I think you'll score a mountain of goals. Like.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting to see Simon Moore back on the bench, and I think Simon Moore could have quite easily been in goal for that game. We could have given Roofs the night off, to be honest. But you did mention signings and things like that. So just quickly before we get into people's questions, we'll go into a bit on the January transfer window, because of course that closed an hour before the Burnley game. Which, if you heard our conversation with Phil Smith, I had my tinfoil hat on, coming up with the conspiracy theories that it was us against Burnley because of that, rather than one of the big boys playing an hour after the transfer window closed, which I'm sure they would have had something to say about. But let's talk about the transfer window and how it went, because if people go onto the BBC website, they will see a certain piece, a fan's voice piece written by Gavin Henderson. Of course, our own Gavin Henderson. Who's exactly. I shouldn't really have to explain, really, should I? But yeah, so he's wrote a piece on the BBC website about our window, saying essentially that it's been another successful one, because mainly that building off what we did in the summer, but three have come in and just look like talented young players: Tarby, Elborg, and Angulo. And if you haven't already listened to them, Gav's done a couple of cracking podcasts this week with people in the know about Elborg and Angulo, and both of them sound like cracking signings from the face of it. So if you haven't listened to those, go back and listen, because people are saying that Sunderland have signed a couple of cracking players there. So just taking that all into account, and all of the players who left, which I think has been the important thing for this window, and how have you seen the month of January in terms of the ins and outs?
Yeah, really pleased, to be honest. I think going into the last year, we mentioned it, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago when we were last speaking together. We thought Adingra might be the one who does move on, but we had to get a replacement in. And that happened very quickly, didn't it, on Monday, where it was like a rumour was happening that Adingra was going, and then literally Adingra was there. And then obviously is it Ungula we pronounce it? Is that how we're calling him? Because you know what I'm like.
I'll take Gav's lead, to be honest. So if he's wrong, then everyone's.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him play or anything like that, but obviously, YouTube is available, other streaming platforms are available to watch him, and he looks a good player. And he looks
like you were
quick.
doing an advert there.
Yeah,
other streaming things companies are available.
Looks quick, strong, powerful. Looks a really good winger. And obviously, I listened to the podcast that Gav had on with the journalist, and it was very, very pleasing. It's like, oh, you've got a right coup there, and I think that's what we've been doing, haven't we? I mean, we've done very well with the Belgian leagues this year, haven't we? Got some good players from there. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think he's come to play. Obviously, we haven't spent 70 million for brokers going to come and take 2 or 3 weeks to get into it. I think he's going to be there straight away, and Obviously, like some Romain Mundell, who hasn't been great. He's done okay there, hasn't he? But him and Talby, who've been like interact with Talby, who I thought was awesome on Monday. But it gives the new lad a chance to bet him, but also I think he'd be there to play a fair bit before the end of the season. And obviously the goalkeeper elbow just literally sounds like Robin Rolfs, but cloned. It sounds very promising. I'm really happy he's come. I'm happy that we've managed to get Pato out on loan to Millwall. I think it's a great move for him. Obviously going to play under Alex Nilo, giving him his debut away, didn't he? So I think that's a really good move for him, and it gives him a chance to play football. I really hope he gets them promoted, to be honest. It'd be really good to see. Obviously, you mentioned Patrick Roberts going, which is sad. It's very, very sad. Don't get us wrong, because what he done for this club, I think, it's gone under the radar a little bit because of what, like the last year where his form went off. But getting us that goal to get us into Wembley against Wickham, and then him and Ahmad the first season in the Championship, it just looked like they were playing like a different game than everybody else. They were playing on FIFA. He was absolutely brilliant, and I wish him all the best. I really do. I think he's a wonderful player, and I think he's just that level of Championship, though. I think that's the thing. We've moved on from that. And obviously Leo Kjell has gone out on loan. Best luck to him. We'll always have coming on at Wembley with 2 minutes to go.
Completely forgot about that until I saw it.
And I think there's a couple more gone under the radar that it might be a loan I've missed out, but I think it's just cleared the decks a little bit, hasn't it? And obviously we're going to have all that to do in the summer, because there's going to be some of them who are on loan who'll come back that we obviously need to sell, and obviously we've still got a couple like Jan Paveda and Bar who we need rid of, don't we? But that's for the summer. I just think the last 2 windows, what they've done right, and they haven't got much wrong, have they? You can only maybe see Adingra is the only one that it's not worked, but he's got a good loan out of Monaco. We're going to get a good fee for him. Yeah, it's all pluses for me.
Yeah, it all kind of slotted into place, and you could almost see that the dealings that they had to do, where they had to bring Alexics back, and they had to shuffle all of these loans around, because you're only allowed so many, and get through all of the rules and do the deals that we wanted to get done. They really had to shuffle the pack and kind of bring people out and get people back in to get people out. But just on that feeling of kind of, well, you mentioned it being sad. You look at the players, you were going through them there. You look at the players who've left this January, and you look at your Patrick Roberts, who's permanent, of course, but Anthony Patterson and Dan Neil especially. And they did so much for us, and they were such huge players, and they'll always be looked at those players who got us up and got us that that promotion. And it almost feels like that players strive to get into that top division, and they do so much for those rewards, whether it's financial or whether it's I'm playing in the Premier League or I'm a Premier League player. It seems such a, I don't know whether to say it's a sad thing, but it's almost harsh the way that they did all that work, got us there, became Premier League players, and then they've almost just been discarded. But as a fan, you're torn a little bit. You want us to progress past that, but at the same time, it's sad that it happened.
It is. I think I'm of like an age, and obviously me and you are relative the same age, aren't we? Later fan, so we say that. We remember Roker Park, basically. Right?
Experienced.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. I don't think I'm as sad as what I was like when I was in the earlier one. We got rid of Don Goodman, for instance, because I cried my eyes out. I can remember when Don Goodman left, and I never came out of my room for him next. Like none of that. I don't think any of that. But you do get attached to them. You do, don't you? And especially where we've come from. Where we've come from, League One, and there's these players who have stuck by the club, haven't they? And Pat Robertson. I think Christian Speakman really, spoke really good words about Patrick Roberts, that when we needed Patrick Roberts, he came and he needed a home. We gave him a home, and he gave us pretty much everything, didn't he? And it is sad. It is sad. But on the flip side of it, we've got Granit Xhaka. We've signed a Granit Xhaka who, if he had told me even this time last year we'd be signing Granit Xhaka, I'd have took you off to the nearest mental institution. You know what I mean? And the likes of Nottingham Mukiele and Noah Siddiqui. And I think the fact that all of these players who've come in have hit the ground running straight away and have had very good performances. Like I said, probably the only one out of all them has been Adingra, who hasn't been, as good as what we thought he would be. And yeah, it is sad. And it is sad to see, Dan Neil, for instance, the captain of the football club, who's lived the dream of every Sunderland fan who grown up in the North East to play football in the League team out at Wembley and never really got that much of a chance in the Premier League, is very, very sad. But if we'd kept that team last year and only made 2 or 3 signings, we would be in the Burnley Leeds situation where we'd be fighting for our lives. Whereas now we're 8th in the league and we're safe now, aren't we? We can pretty much even anyone with them, and I'm an optimistic person, but even anyone with the kind of like, it's Sunderland, this, that, and the other, they've got to say that we're safe now. And we can plan on building on next season, everything like that, the sky's the limit and stuff. And it's like, I got a little bit distracted there because Gav came on. And it's like, yeah, it is sad, but we also need to remember that these players probably aren't good enough to be a top 8 player. And then, it is sad, but it'll happen. Listen, give it, 6 months, 18 months time when Luke O'Nien eventually leaves. And it'll be really sad. I think a lot of people, everyone will be gutted about it, but it's for the good of the club, isn't it? And we've just got to start thinking now what's best for Sunderland FC and, maybe stop hanging on to, all that stuff. But yeah, well, it was sad. I think it's a sad day that when, that Pat Roberts has gone. And I think he's, like I say, I wish him all the best down in Birmingham.
Yeah, well, that's it. You did mention, but that was the old Sunderland that went down on 40 points, by the way. So 36 points with the new Sunderland should be enough. But yeah, you did hear
that game as well, Chris.
Yeah, I told you about. I was at Sellers Park that day. The highlight of the day was that fella going into the wall on the police bike. But anyway, that's a completely different story altogether. Because you might have heard there, and just mention it, but we've been joined and talking about optimistic gentlemen that are required for the game ahead this weekend. We've been joined by someone who's already been mentioned because of his piece on the BBC, Gavin Henderson. All right, Gav?
Hello, mate. What you talking about me for? What have I done wrong?
Talk about you all the time. Just to test whether you listen to our pods. You're not on.
Yes, we're burning.
No, we're talking about your summing up of the Sunderland transfer window on the BBC website. Just saying that you were talking about it being a successful one, and Sunderland fans is generally happy.
Yeah, you can't complain really if you've managed to shift out like, I haven't got the actual numbers in front of us, but it must have been 10, 12 players, like if you total it all up, and then also bring in probably 3 players who I would say are potentials, gambles, really. Like players who, if we'd left it till the summer and they'd gone on to storm the second half of the season, would probably be on the radar of a lot more clubs. So I think what we've done is we've looked at this and gone, actually, we don't really need to do too much. It's just about tightening things up. But if we can bring in some players that we might not otherwise be able to get if we wait a bit, then let's do it. I think we've done that virtually every January window since this lot came in. I actually quite like what I think it was something Johnny said. I think it was Johnny who said. Was it Johnny who said it? I'm second guessing myself now. I think it was Johnny said it, but basically calling it like someone had said that it's a bit like A&E, the January window. Who was it who said that? I think it was Johnny. I'm maybe crediting him with something he didn't actually say, but it's right. It's a line I would like to steal. I wish I'd said it because it is a bit like A&E, the January window. You kind of only really use it if you really need it. There's a dire emergency and you have to go flying in there and get seen to, which is why you see so many teams panicking, or you see the likes of Man City getting Semenyo and Gay in at this stage to try and help them win some trophies. Like, we don't need to do that. We've had a brilliant summer, a brilliant season. It's been more about just getting players out the door who don't really want to be here anymore.
Yeah, well, Enzo Lafayette wasn't a bad emergency signing 12 months ago, to be fair, But anyway, let's. We've got a bunch of questions from people, as we said, so let's get into them because our first one comes from Lad of Light, and he puts a question about the Sunderland brand, and he asks, "Do you think the club are going to continue building up Sunderland's brand image? When you take into account the Women's Rugby World Cup, Josh Kelly's fight in the summer, lots of big name gigs in recent years, put Sunderland into the international spotlight. What do you think is the next step? And he suggests it's potentially stadium expansion. What do you think, Ant?
I think definitely, and if we continue this upward trajectory what we're on, I think an expansion's probably in the right frame of mind. I think I wouldn't do it at the end of this season or anything like that, just in case we have second season syndrome, which I don't think we'll have. But I think it's just something we will look at long term. But it's a great point. I mean, I think a boxing world title match in the summer is got to be on the horizon, hasn't it? With Josh Kelly winning in Newcastle last week, so another Macklin win in Newcastle. Fair play to you, like. But yeah, it's good. It's good to hear, isn't it? All that stuff, and it is kind of the sky's the limit for the club now, isn't it? We've been through all this shite, and now we're we're thinking about, let's expand the stadium, let's do this, let's do that. It's great, and I'd love to see really good gig out. I think I take that on this summer, like they're on that'd be nice. I'm not going. I'm not a huge theatre fan, but it'd be nice to get Coldplay back or something like that. The gigs. I always thought the gigs were good. Went to a couple of them, thought they were good. So yeah, it's great to see, get that brand out there, and get us into the foreign markets and stuff. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Gav? Because in David Bruce, we've got someone who, of course, pushed the MLS, and if there's a place where marketing is big, it's going to be the US. So you can imagine Sunderland are going to be big on that side of things.
Yeah, I think you've got to maximise everything that you've got at your disposal. And for Sunderland, we've got one of the greatest stadiums in the country, haven't we? So in terms of stadium expansion, I'm not so sure. I mean, look, we're very early into this journey as a top flight club. We can't get too carried away. It's great at the minute. We're selling out every home game. We're undefeated at home, but things can quickly change. I'm not trying to be negative, but if things aren't quite as good next season, maybe the home crowds won't sell out so much, and maybe we won't, be talking like this. But at the minute, it's great, and we can dream a bit, but let's just take our time. Had your horses, my mum would say.
I'm not sure I was quite expecting. I was expecting Gav to be like, yeah, we'll have 100,000 all-seater stadium in 2 years' time. And
it's on the cards. I just think, we're only talking about this because things are going so well. Like, what I don't want is just to stick 20,000 extra seats in the ground and then people just go, these are embarrassing. You kind of fill your stadium. I like the stadium as it is at the minute. I like that it's a hot ticket. I like that it's difficult to get in there, because it all adds to the atmosphere, doesn't it? Like, big games and stuff feel like big games. Even the normal games feel like big games because the place is sold out. So you've wishful thinking. Yeah, it's going to be good down the line if we can. I think it's probably more of a plan for like 5 to 8 to 10 years time. Like, if we are fully established, regularly playing in Europe, competing for trophies, yeah, definitely. But yeah, I will reiterate what I just said. Had your horses. Maybe don't get too carried away.
There you go. Well, let's move on. We've got a question from Jack Asprey, who's talking about the goalkeepers. Now, he said conspiracy theory time. He said the acquisition of Elborg is a sign the club are anticipating Roofs will be sold in the summer, and with Patterson out on loan, he'll be getting Matt Sharp to challenge Elborg for number 1 position next season. And if you go on the gossip on the BBC website this week, one of the main stories is coming from Football Insider, apparently, is that Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool are looking to potentially put in offers of over 50 million for the 23-year-old goalkeeper who we bought for what, a fifth of that. But there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around. And the other thing to throw into the mix that we talked about on a previous podcast was Matty Young. There's clearly a pathway for him over the next 2, 3, 4 years, which they're going to be thinking about as well. So I think the bottom line is we're in a good position in the goalkeeper department, aren't we?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's, if they want to give us 60 million quid, I'd argue to see he's probably worth a little bit more than that, to be honest, the way he's playing. For me, he's one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the league, probably even higher. He's a phenomenal goalkeeper. And the fact that we've got him, we got him for so cheap, playing in the Dutch second division, was it, or something or other he's playing in, hadn't played that many games, and he wasn't even the first choice, was he? So, a tremendous sign, absolute tremendous sign. He's done brilliantly. He has done absolutely brilliantly. The thing is where, the lads just put on there, Chelsea, Liverpool and City are apparently afterwards. City's got Donnarumma, who they've just signed. I don't think and they've got James Trafford as well. I don't think they'll go for him. Liverpool, Alisson, unless Alisson leaves, I don't see that happening. Chelsea is probably the one because they've got Sanchez, haven't they? And I don't think he's very good. So maybe, but we're in a position where we say, well, hang on, you can give us what we want from a value, and we've got a couple of goalkeepers there. I do kind of disagree with the Matty Young thing that he would come back to be number 2 next year, because I would personally want him playing Championship next year, given that step up, because he's went back to Salford because he had such a good experience there, and by all accounts, he's doing very, very well. So I would just like...
Sorry, Jan, even top end League One, like he's still very, very young, isn't he? Pardon the pun, I know it's his surname, but he's 19. He's 19, and he doesn't turn 20 till November. So he's not 20 till the back end of the year. So you're on about in the summer, he's still going to be 19-year-old. Even a good League One club would be a great move for him.
Yeah. Like I say, I just want us to take our time. It is obvious that he will be our number 1 in a few years' time because he's got everything, hasn't he? But, let's just be patient with him. Let's just see what we've got. And obviously we've got, Elborg in there who looks a good understudy to Russ. But I don't think Russ will go this in the summer. I think it may be another couple of years then. We'll have to anticipate it, but I don't see it happening this season.
Yeah. Well, moving on, a question from Joe Braun Gav, and this is about Habib Diarra, because he says, is Habib Diarra the best January signing in the Premier League? And you kind of see what he means. It says, he goes on to say, it feels like it could be more influential than any of the big name signings we saw across the league. Now, it is an interesting one because we wouldn't have planned it that way. Of course, we wanted Diarra to play out the full season and go to AFCON, do brilliant, come back and carry on where he left off. But because he was injured, you could almost feel in that Burnley game how much he freshened that midfield up.
Yeah, I thought he was great. And I've referred to him repeatedly as being like a new signing, because we haven't had him really, and it's mad, isn't it, when you think about how well we've done, that we haven't had him available. It's another reason to highlight just how brilliant this season's been. You go out and spend 30 million for the first time in your history, the most expensive player you've ever signed, and he hasn't played, and you've still managed to do what you've done. So I guess in that regard, yeah, you could maybe. I mean, there's probably a few other players that you could look at and go, they're going to change the game a little bit for certain clubs. I mean, I think Douglas Luiz is going to be a good signing for Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Semenyo and Gay at Man City. They might not win them the league, but they could be with a better shout of winning another trophy. But they've cost a lot. Semenyo cost a lot of money. Gay's probably a bit of a bargain buy really at this stage, but you get me drift. There are other good signings out there, but I think Diarra he's going to be really motivated because it can't be easy sitting out on the sidelines and watching the team do well while you've come all this way from another country. You've got all this expectation and hope, and you're like, yes, I'm going to finally get to play in the Premier League, and then it's ripped away from you. And he's probably been sat there contemplating how he was going to handle this sort of resurgence, I guess. And you probably saw glimpses of that when he was away with Senegal at the AFCON, because that was really his pre-season in many respects. And he's come back. He's got this big hero's welcome return. I thought the club did a brilliant job of that on Monday night when they put the big graphic up on the screen when the teams were read out and stuff. And I don't care what anyone says. I know it was an own goal, but I'm giving him that goal. He got 2 goals. And I think as well, he's brought a completely different dynamic to the midfield that we don't have. Like Enzo Lafay is very unique. I don't think we've got another player who can do what he can do. Granit Xhaka is very unique. We do not have another player who can do what he can do. Noah Siddiqui is very unique. We don't have another player who can do what he can do. Habib Diarra is very unique. I don't think we've got another player who can do what he can do. Again, big thumbs up to the recruitment, because we haven't gone out and just signed 2 or 3 of the same player. We've signed very diverse midfielders who have all got something different in the locker, who can, at any given point in a game, can do something that no one else on the pitch can do. So And by the way, we do probably need more goals. And if we can get that from one of the midfield players, and that's going to be Diarra, then great. So to kind of answer the question, I hope he's right. I hope he is going to end up looking like even though he wasn't signed in January, one of the best players from January onwards.
Yeah, that's it. And speaking of those type of players, the next question comes in from Ben Ant, and it's on Enzo Lafay. He asks, do you think Enzo Lafay could be a future captain? I thought it was his most mature performance in a red and white shirt on Monday night, getting the ball a lot more in deep positions in the absence of Xhaka. And it was one of his best performances, I think, just completely controlled the game. But it was being in that position, wasn't it, with the likes of Diarra and Siddiqui behind him, that he was able to do that. And it'll be interesting when Xhaka comes back, whether he'll still have that freedom.
Yeah. As far as the captaincy goes, that's a really good point. Actually, I've never once thought about that until he's just mentioned that. But I noticed on Monday a couple of times actually when I think one was when Hume had that shot which the defender knocked over the bar, and Hume just looked forlorn because like Hume's thinking, I'm never going to score in this league. And Enzo just went straight up. He was like kind of lifted his chin up. He was just like, yeah, it's going to happen. I think he had when Diarra came off, he was giving him a hug and smiling with him and stuff. So I don't know. I think personally, I wouldn't mind seeing him giving the go as captain, but we've got the best captain we can have at the minute in Granit Xhaka, haven't we? And I think long term we're probably looking Dan Ballard, I think, or something along those lines. But yeah, it might be an interesting thought. But what that did give us, and you've hit the nail on the head on Monday, was he literally had a free roll, didn't he? He was just everywhere. And I don't think any of his passes went away, did they? I think he must have had close to 100% pass completion, because he just every time he has the ball, he makes something happen, doesn't he? He was phenomenal, and I know we never beat much, but for him to have such a good game was a good standout. I think since obviously the Brentford game and that penalty and all that stuff, he's been phenomenal for us. Just got it straight out of his head. Getting goals, getting assists, all around being brilliant. He's just absolute class. I mean, you mentioned January signings. He's been the best, hasn't he, for a long, long time. Absolutely amazing player.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a few more questions, and of course we're going to get into the Arsenal game, but it's a good chance to take a quick break, so we'll be back very soon.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And welcome back to How We're the podcast. And we're partway through the questions that we've got in from you lovely people. So we'll crack on with those. And the next one, Gav, is from Steve Richards, and it's about Brian Brobby. He asks, how many goals and assists will Brian Brobby get this season? He says he was awesome against Burnley. And just off the top of my head, I think he's got like 5 in 19 games or something like that. But it's amazing because that doesn't really tell the story, does it? Because, I mean, in my opinion, I think he's only really got to full fitness, maybe, middle of December or something like that? But
well, I would say even more recently than that, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had that many games where he's been up to full fitness, has he?
No. You said there, I think it's 5 in 19, but a lot of them were sub appearances when he wasn't fit. Yeah. There's only really Sunderland fans will pay attention to that. It's maybe an example of where you shouldn't necessarily just take data at face value, because there will be people who look at that and go 5 in 19. That's all right, I guess. But like when you look that 3 of those goals have come in the last 5 games, that's really impressive. And in those last 5 games, he's played 90 minutes 3 times, which he hadn't done till that point. A lot of he was coming. So like when you look at his minutes since he arrived at the club, 20 odd minutes against Palace off the bench, 5 against Forest, half an hour in a game at Man U where we were getting battered, 15 minutes at the end against Chelsea where he set the goal for Tolby, 27 minutes against Arsenal where he got the equaliser. You know what I mean? 27 minutes against Bournemouth when we come back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. So even when he wasn't getting many minutes, he was having an impact. He was getting goal contributions. And then obviously it's only been, literally as I said, Tottenham was his first full 90 and he scored in that game. And in that period since, he's actually at his peak fitness. So you could argue, really, Chris, we haven't seen the best of Brian Broby until the start of January, and that will have escaped the attention of people outside of Sunderland. I think they're only just starting to cotton on to him. I think, was it the what game was it when Thierry Henry was doing the analysis and was really praising him?
Yeah.
I can't remember when that was now.
Yes.
It was it Palace, the game after the Palace game?
Yeah. I think it possibly. I think it was the Monday Night Football after Palace, wasn't it?
Because it was his goal, wasn't it, when he chipped the keeper?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, how many is he going to get at his current rate of scoring? You could be into double figures, really. But to be honest, as much as the goals are a nice bonus, it's just what he brings to the team that I love. Like, the goals are great, and yes, you want your strikers to score goals, but for me, there isn't another player in the Premier League who does what he does from an attacking perspective as a focal point in the team. He's just amazing, isn't he? In that hold up play, I can't believe the way he holds people off is scary. So yeah, I would hazard he's going to get at least 10, but I actually believe he'll probably get more. I mean, how many games we got left? We played 24 now, is it? No. So we've got another 14 games. You would back him to get at least another 5 to 8, and that would be an unbelievable return.
I'm just thinking, plus a potential 5 games in the FA Cup as well. I'll just put it out there. But yeah, I mean, about his all-round performance so quickly, Gav. I mean, you might not have gotten a goal in our last game against Burnley, but I tell you what, he led the line so well that actually he drove us to almost to get those 3 points, didn't he?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, he was the difference, and we can talk about Diarra, and we can talk about Talby, and we can talk about Lafay. I thought they were all brilliant. I thought it was just as a team performance, it was excellent. But you read the comments from the Burnley fans online after the match, who were they all talking about? They weren't talking about Diarra. They were talking about Broby, because Maxime Esteve has been their best player for probably 2 years now, easily. Like last season in the Championship, nobody could touch him. He was absolutely brilliant. Broby absolutely tortured him, bullied him. It was like watching men against boys, or man against boys, because that's what it was. They were just bouncing off him. They couldn't get near him. I mean, the best example of it was the way that he held the ball up for Diarra to run off him for that. Was it the first goal?
Yeah.
Like, who else is doing that? There's nobody in the Prem doing that anymore. We talk about this quite a lot. We have done, I think, mainly since we got promoted, but about the kind of the death of the old school number 9. They just don't exist anymore. And Broby is that. Like, who else is there, really? People will point to Mateta, but I've watched Mateta get bullied twice off our defenders this season. There's no way you can put him in the bracket Broby's in. No way. And other than him, who is there? There isn't anyone.
Yeah. There isn't like an old-fashioned one, is there? No.
Nah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and if Mateta's worth 50 million, how much is Broby worth?
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's it. If he gets another 5 to 8 goals between now and the end of the season, even if he doesn't, if he just keeps playing like he is, we're going to have teams sniffing around him for big, big money. Yeah. And I know this kind of just to go back to something Ant was saying when he was talking about Robin Roofs earlier. The club are very aware of the peak worth of these players and when the right time to sell is. So that's like, if it is the summer, then it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, they might look at Broby and go, right, now is the right time to sell if we are going to sell. You've just got to have faith that they make the right decisions at the right times. They have generally done that. But in terms of him, though, like his confidence must be through the roof. Can you imagine being him after? Because we heard all about when he came here about how his confidence was on the floor. He was getting abuse from Ajax fans. It was like he had an awful year mentally last year. Can you imagine being him now when he's got the best striker who's ever played in the Premier League, bigging him up on TV? What that must be like. Like you'd be walking around with your chest puffed out, strutting around thinking you're the big I am, wouldn't you? So yeah, I'm over the moon with him. I really am, Chris. I think he's really delivering, and everything that we were told from the Dutch side of things about him hasn't really come true, and that's been nice as well.
Absolutely. And next one, an easy one for you, Ant, to start with. Got one from Billy Blythe, and he says, who's winning Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year so far?
Oh,
Yeah.
good grief.
You can pick about 10 of them, couldn't you?
Can I? I'll go off mine so far. I've got to say Broby, I reckon, player of the year. Broby on the fair, probably
Yeah.
Broby. Aye, and young Talby.
Oof, that's an interesting one. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Siddiqui. No, it's Siddiqui.
Well,
Siddiqui. No, I
yeah.
forgot
Well,
Siddiqui was that young.
I suppose it
Yeah,
depends what your
Siddiqui.
definition is of young. Let's say it's 20 and under. But yeah, Gav,
Oh, Siddiqui's
yeah,
20. I mean.
yeah. So that would keep him in the category. But Gav, player of the season and young player of the season so far?
Player would be Granit Xhaka. I'd struggle to give it to anybody else, really. Having said that, there is probably at least 5 players, isn't there, who you could say, as amazing as Xhaka has been and as influential as he's been in every game he's played, Enzo Lafay's just come on so much. I can't imagine us without him in the team now. Nordy, Ballard, I mean, Roofs.
Yeah.
You could go on. Ronaldo, if he hadn't had a couple of brain farts, would probably be in the conversation.
I like how you've just said you struggle to give it to anyone else and then mentioned everyone else.
I would probably, I mean, the very, very obvious answer is Granit Xhaka, isn't it? But I'm just saying you could arguably make a case for anyone else. Young player, I'm going to Robin Roofs, because I just think to be able to you could say Siddiqui, but Siddiqui was in a title-winning Union Saint-Gilloise team last year, so he felt success last year, where Roofs came from one season as a senior player and playing for a really small and fashionable team in that league, has came into the Premier League and took to it like a duck to water, and now, I mean, he's in the conversation as being one of the best easily in the Prem, and that's after 20-odd games. For me, I think he would probably be my young player.
Yeah. Well, my 2 pence worth.
How old Chris? What about you?
I'd go for Dan Ballard, I think, just because I don't think anybody's had to have raised the level so much as Dan Ballard has. There was a lot of question marks whether he could play in the Premier League last season, and I think he's gone above and beyond. I think Granit Xhaka has been fantastic and has been our best player, but I think that was expected. I think we were expecting him to be good and that good.
Yeah.
Whereas Dan Ballard has raised his level so much. He's gone beyond, I think, where a lot of people imagined he could go. This season, to be probably one of the best defenders statistically with his numbers and just his presence as well in the Premier League this season. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. So I'd go Dan Ballard so far. Young player, it's got to be Siddiqui. I think as Gav said earlier, he's been so important to us in the way we play, and people are comparing him to Kante and all sorts. That I just think he's been a revelation in the Premier League. One of the best midfielders, again, most effective Premier League midfielders this season, getting about the pitch and winning us the ball. So that was an easy one. Thank you very much for that one. So we'll another easy one, and I'll go to you, Gav. I'll start with you on this one because it's from John Harrison. We've got 2 on the same topic. We've got one from John Harrison, and he asks, why do you think the atmosphere has tailed off in the last couple of games? Are fans becoming complacent, or is it down to the level of opposition with Palace and Burnley? And the other one is from Apocalypse now. He says, why do you think the atmosphere has been flat for the last couple of games? I don't think the pre-kickoff deafening music and long video helps. Are too many watch on the concourse with a pint? I think we need more simple and old chants that are easier to get and join in. I don't know what you make of all that, Gav.
Well, I think that's a load of shite, if I'm honest. How can you possibly fault the pre-match that we've got now, man? It's mint. If that doesn't get the hairs up on your arms, then there's something wrong. I think the atmosphere problems probably stem from the expectation of winning against who we're facing. So, to me, Burnley, one of the worst teams in the league, everyone's turned up expecting to win. Palace, horrendous form going in that game. Everyone is expecting to win. Man City, underdogs. Leeds, we knew that was going to be tough because they went in that in really good form. And we also went behind in that game. So that gets the crowd up. You go back, the Mags game, that speaks for itself. It's Newcastle. The atmosphere was always going to be good for that. The Bournemouth game, we go 2-0 down. We come from behind, so the atmosphere builds as you build momentum. Arsenal went behind, underdogs. on a case-by-case basis, you can kind of understand why the atmosphere would be better in a game where Sunderland are either not expected to win or we go behind versus a game where people are turning up thinking we're going to win. Like, it's just obvious, isn't it? Plus, Burnley on a Monday night, it's a shit time. It's freezing cold. People haven't spent all day in the pub. It's going to affect the atmosphere. You haven't got the exiles travelling up from all over the country, maybe, who would be there normally. So yeah, I mean, even the Palace game, like, I just think they were in such bad form going into that people expect us to win. So I think it's easy explained, Chris. Like, I've been musing on this a little bit this week because it is noticeable, but I don't think it's because people just don't want to get behind the lads. I just think sometimes the circumstances make it more difficult for people to get fired up. Like, if they think Sunderland are going to get beat, or there's a chance we could get beat, then it's more, there's that underdog mentality. There's a bit more of a feeling about the game. It's very easy to explain that one. I don't think there's anything to necessarily worry about. Although I do know that the club worry about it, and naturally they do. Obviously we get invited to the atmosphere group meetings, so I've been a part of the last few of those. And David Bris is very open and honest, and he's like asking the people in attendance, what do you think is the reason behind this, that, and the other? Very specific moments in games. Like, he was talking about, I think it was the last one, he was talking about the kind of, just called it more like of a noticeable drop off in the atmosphere and stuff, and things like that. Yeah, what can we do? Always strive to improve, always look at ways we can make things better. Some of those things can't be fixed overnight or on a game by game basis. It'll be to do with, the way that they word things in the season renewal packs. It'll be to do with safe standing. Things that they can't just fix on a game by game basis. So yeah, I mean, what we got coming up, Liverpool on a Wednesday night, I think that's got a bit more of a taste about it, and the atmosphere. Again, I know Liverpool are obviously they're the reigning champions, and they haven't had a very good season, so there is still going to be that underdog mentality, but also the feeling that we're up against it, but we can actually win this one. And I think there'll be a better atmosphere at the Liverpool game. You'll have more of that, like, thundering into tackles and people really cheering for it like it's a goal, where we maybe don't get that. We followed that up with a game against Fulham, which I think might not have the same zest about it. So yeah, I don't know what you lads think, but I don't think it's anything really to worry about. I think it's just something. It's a symptom of the teams we've played recently.
Do you think there's a point there, as even when you're talking about the pre-kickoff music and videos and things like that, and Gav's point about that maybe the fans get a sense of, right, actually we're playing Arsenal or we're playing Liverpool or we're playing one of the top teams. The team need us today. Whereas maybe that feeling against Burnley, it's like, well, the team should just roll these over.
Yeah, I mean, I can see from that side. Listen, for the start of the question, if anyone is complaining about the video package and everything that they've got before the game kicks off, then you are in the wrong spot, because that is absolutely brilliant, by the way. The whole, it gets me going. It honestly gets me going. We go in now to see that. Whereas normally we're just like, when Dancing Nights was on, you like filtered up, you know what I mean? We go in now to watch that, like, because that is brilliant, like. Honestly, you can play that for 90 minutes and I'd be like right up for it. Like, it's unreal.
I'll just come back to some of the word, and not to be a dick, like, but more traditional chanting. Like,
I know, but what is that? It's not as if we've got really hard songs about any of our players, have we? You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's fabulous. I mean, people might have not seen this, but a regular on here, Andy Sixsmith, he put a video on his socials after the Burnley game, where it was literally him going, look how great Sunderland's pretty much build-up is. And he's kind of condensed all the different elements into a video. Dig it out. If people maybe are exiled and they haven't been to games recently and they haven't seen it, dig that video out, because it gives you a flavour of what we're talking about. You can't fault the club for the way they've really invested time and money and effort into this. Like, I know for a fact, because they talk about it at the atmosphere group meetings, that they think really in a lot of detail, like even down to the positioning of songs and when certain songs are played, and like what songs are played. Like, for instance, the in the build up to the kickoff against Palace, they normally have as the third song in the build up, they normally have Glad All Over, because the Granite Xhaka song, but obviously that's a Palace song. So at that meeting, they were talking about what can we replace that with? What do you think we should put in place of that song? Because obviously we can't play it when we're playing Palace. It's like, so you've got to understand that they have well-paid, experienced members of staff who actually think in very great detail about how this is laid out. So I just think I'm not saying the guy's wrong, and I'm not saying that what the club do now isn't open for criticism or debate, but you've got to admit it's a lot better than what we've had.
I couldn't help but think when you said we've got well-paid people planning all this out, I couldn't help but think of Netflix and that meeting with Charlie Methven when he's gone through what songs we should play. But yeah,
well, there you go. There you go. There's evidence that it's not always the right thing.
In terms of atmosphere and stuff, our next one, very sad one, we've got one from Alan Davis. And it's, of course, about the very sad news about George Foster, who passed away this week. Nick Barnes said on BBC Radio Newcastle, heartbreaking news, because we all felt he was invincible. He said he was wearing his red and white scarf, his Sunderland cap. He was holding pitch clippings from the stadium alight with his family and friends around him. He said he's passed on the way he would have wanted. The reaction already has been phenomenal. I don't think there's many that don't know about George. And Alan Davis asks, have you heard anything regarding what the club might do for George Foster? And I'm sure the club are going to do a big tribute to him, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to, I've met George a few times, and what an absolute gentleman. He literally makes you, every time you speak to him, he makes you want to run through a brick wall. He was just the amount of love he had for this football club. He was Mr. Sunderland, and I had the absolute pleasure when me and Gav interviewed him a few years ago for the International Fans Weekend, and we had obviously that we had the 73 winners and everything like that. But when me and Gav interviewed George, you could not hear a pin drop, could you? It was just him singing his song, and it's hard not to get choked up about it because it's so sad. Because a 99-year-old bloke, I think we were all just hoping he'd pull in for his 100th, and and all that palaver. But what an innings he's had! What a man! And it's just struggling to find the correct words, because it's so, like I say, it's just been as much as we've had such a lovely week, we're beating Burnley and all that stuff. To hear that news really did. I mean, it's coming out of work on Tuesday. I just had to sit in my car for a couple of minutes just to gather it myself, because it's so sad. I just want to pass on my condolences to his family and everyone, and obviously Nick and Joanne who've helped them a lot through the last few years. I know Joanne's absolutely devastated as well. So I hope the club. I kind of see. I think there was something about they want to do a tifo and stuff like that. I'm not overly sure that's what he would have wanted. I think he probably just wants everyone to get on, doesn't he? So I would love for. Gav mentioned before the music. I would love for him to play. Couldn't get a ticket for the game at some point, and I don't think there'd be a dry eye in the house. I think that would be the most beautiful send off for him.
Yeah,
because that would be song like.
Yeah, well, on that, Chris, we've dug out the clip of George singing that at fans at the fan party when he was on the pod with us a few years ago. So we might stick that at the end of this show so people can listen to it. But it was George's favourite song. He sang it every day, apparently. No, just to add to what Anne said, and Dan put it well, like, just a great bloke. I mean, anybody who hasn't read it yet, go to the club website and read Rob Mason's obituary for George, because it's just brilliant. The level of detail in there about just his life and his devotion to the fan base, I guess, because George was the chairman of the Supporters Association for 55 years, and basically devoted his life as a volunteer to the club, to the fan base. You look at the outpouring of comments from people who've said, like, at different points in time that he has helped them in some way. Every Sunderland fan walking the earth knows who he is. And yeah, I mean, towards the end of his life, just brilliant to see him looked after in the way that he was by Joanne, mainly. Like, Joanne's a big friend of mine, and you all know what I think of Joanne, but really just made George feel like a special Sunderland fan, because he was. And yeah, I mean, there have been, just on Have We Heard Any Plans? I know that there were some posts on Twitter from fans just asking the club and asking the flag group, This Is Wearside, to do something. And there was a reply from Daniel Stokel, who heads up that group. He basically said it would be a bit too short notice to do something appropriate for the Liverpool game. But there is plans in place for down the line to do something for George. So it looks like there will be something eventually, but maybe just not with a quick turnaround because there's quite a lot of work has to go into doing it properly. But I would imagine that certainly ahead of Liverpool there'll be a minute's applause or something with his picture featuring on the screen. And I agree, and to get that song playing as well, because there'll be plenty of people in attendance who understand the relevance because it was his song. Like, I was fortunate enough to be at a couple of his birthday parties in more recent years, and you've only got to look around the. I did look around the room and see the caliber of people in the room. You've got like Borley there, John Cook, Nick Barnes, all the local journos, like club legends just in the room, Jimmy Montgomery, and you think, well, that's the level of respect this guy commanded. He was a big friend of Charlie Hurley, of course, the greatest centre half the world's ever seen. The club's greatest ever player, was voted for by the fans, and Charlie Hurley was a big fan of George. I think there was a piece in the Sun and Echo today. Bob Murray just passing on his condolences to George, talking about how much respect he had for him. So yeah, I mean, and just another little comment on the kind of devotion, the fan base thing I was talking about there. 55 years of service to the Supporters Association, and he only stopped doing that really during COVID because he couldn't. Prior to the pandemic, George would get the bus every single day from his flat. I think he lived in Southwick. He would get the bus down to the Supporters Club and would put a full day's work in every day in his 90s. And obviously, because of the pandemic, he lost his independence and wasn't able to do that. And unfortunately, was kind of like a lot of pensioners, wasn't allowed to leave the house. And that's the only reason he stopped working. He'd still be working now if that hadn't have all happened. Do you know what I mean? But to that just shows the level of devotion. He was working voluntarily working in his 90s. Just an absolute legend. There's not enough we can say about him, really.
Not see another one, do I? We'll not see another one. Not be another George.
No, absolutely. I remember getting he gave me a free bundle of programmes when I was counting my pocket money out in the shop near Roker Park, and gave us a free bundle give us a free few programmes in a elastic band. But yeah, absolutely brilliant man, and sad news. But moving on, there was a game, of course, that we need to get into, and these are the questions that we want to send in. Gav, this next one on the game, because we've got the question from Tom at SAFC. He says, will I need my big coat for the trip to Arsenal? And more importantly, he says also, what beers should I buy for the journey? And then he said, buns or bread? What's your favourite sandwich filler? I mean, these are the questions we want, isn't it?
Will he need his big coat? Yes, it is Baltic.
Not in London.
I'm sick of this weather.
In London,
yeah, it's always a good 5 or 6 degrees warmer down there. I would still pack your big coat, yes. What beers does he want to take? Guinness, obviously. There's only Guinness, really, isn't there?
What would I can?
It's not great out.
Nah.
Well, if you get one of them little nitro surge
carry
things
one in your pocket for the match,
as well, doesn't it? We aye.
Buns or bread? And what's your favourite sandwich filler?
Aye.
Well, it's got to be buns because they travel better, don't they? And especially if you're using chopped tomatoes because they're torn your bread claggy, as Bobby Thompson used to tell us.
He 100% will need his big coat. Yeah, it is nice, is it? Horrible weather. What was the other one? The cans. See, I go bottles and I always go Bud because it's twist cap.
Oh.
You know what I mean? That's just me. But I agree, the first pint you should have, if you want us to name a pub, Miller's round the corner from King's Cross, absolutely brilliant. And have a pint of Guinness. 100% agree with Gav on that one. I wouldn't drink it out of a can. A sandwich filler,
ham and mustard. Ooh, simple. Keep it simple, eh? That's the one.
Someone's fancy, aren't they? Mustard.
Oh, I like
what type of mustard, though? Anyway, we could go down a rabbit hole here, really, couldn't we? But anyway, and I'll stick with you because look, let's get into Arsenal because we have to go way back to November 2002 to find a Sunderland victory at Arsenal. That day it was Howard Wilkinson's Sunderland who came back from 2 down to win 3-2 in a League Cup third round tie. For a league game, we have to go back all the way back, Ant, to a few months after I was born in November 1983. In 12 attempts at the Emirates in all competitions, we're yet to win there. It's a bit of a tall order we've got ahead of us, isn't it?
Stats are allowed to be broken and records are allowed to be broke. But it's a hard game. Obviously, they're coming off, getting into the Carabao Cup final. So good, decent win for them last week over Leeds away from home. For me, they're the best team in the league. I think they're the title winners, but they're not invincible. We proved that when we beat them at home, and I would argue that they're probably they were in better form when they came to Stadium of Light, and probably were playing better than what they are now. You have seen a little bit of a switch with them, where they have been struggling in games. A couple of draws even there, and obviously lost a couple of weeks ago. So they're not invincible. Yes, it's going to be bloody difficult, and our away form's nowhere near as good as our home form. But we proved at the Stadium of Light when we give them a hell of a shock, and they could not. We mentioned Brian Broby before; they could not handle Broby when he came on. The likes of I don't think Gabriel was playing, but Saliba, wasn't he? And they couldn't handle him, and our midfield really did give them a shock. They were not happy. Arsenal were not happy. Arteta was doing his usual, prance and horse stuff that he does on the touchline. They weren't happy at all, and they had, they scored through a mistake in a worldie, and we still got a draw. So it's on. We can go down there. Listen, if we go down there, get a point, I think it's an absolutely fantastic result. Yeah, really do. If we go down there, get all three, I'll be starting to think of Europe again, Chris. But yes, of course it is. Massive game. Difficult for us. Got a big week, haven't we? Because we've got Arsenal, Liverpool, then it's Oxford in the Cup. So it's a big week for Sunderland. We'll probably see where we are this time next week. But yeah, they're not invincible. I'm putting it out there. I've got a bit of hope.
Yeah. And just remind us of some nasty words that Gav said about Arteta after the game at the Stadium of Light, actually. But looking at Arsenal, again, Gav, they've conceded the fewest goals in the Premier League, and only Man City have scored more. But actually, it's amazing how many people are knocking Arsenal. We talked about last 16 of the cup final in the League Cup. But Paul Scholes was saying if they win the title, I think he said they'd be one of the worst, and then I think he said they'd be one of the most boring. But people are knocking them, even though they're top of the league, haven't won every game in the Champions League and flying. But there seems to be, almost like people are asking questions of them.
Well, they're just functional. They're actually, and people might laugh at this, but in terms of style, they're probably the closest team to us. We're probably very well matched in terms of styles. I think they just do it with a slightly higher caliber of player and a lot more of them. They've got depth, whereas we're obviously just new to the league. But two teams who play in a very similar manner, very direct, very robust at the back, well coached, good on set players. That's the reason people are slagging them off, Chris, is because they're not blowing teams away, but they don't need to. Arsenal have been a fancy team for too long, and that's why they've won now. They've needed to go in this direction, and it's took time. And fair play to them, they've stuck by Mikel Arteta, because at clubs like Chelsea, he would have been sacked years ago, and they haven't. They've stuck by him. They've let him bed in. They've let him get his ideas in place. They've let him really develop the squad and the players that he's got. And they've spent a lot of money, but you have to challenge for league titles. And yeah, I mean, I'm more credit to them. I watched that game against Chelsea where it was terrible. It was an awful game of football, but it didn't need to be good, because they just needed to make sure they didn't lose, and they were through. And that's what they've done. And I think that's why they're pissing people off. People just want them to blow teams away, but I don't think it's possible. I think Man City have shown that. Man City try and control games and blow teams away. And yeah, they're the closest team to Arsenal, but it's the reason that they're not top of the table, because Arsenal are a lot more solid at the bottom than they are. So yeah, I would kind of dismiss what Paul Scholes and the rest of them are saying about them. I think they won't give a shit if they're sat with trophies at the end of the season. They're not going to be bothered how they played.
That's a really poor comment, isn't it? I think that's a really poor comment from Paul Scholes. I think that's just jealousy, to be honest, because United are nowhere near Arsenal at the minute. To say that they're the worst side to win the league, that's
just looking at those statistics around set pieces, and I mean, just last one on Arsenal before we get in the lads quickly. You saw that game against Chelsea during midweek in that semi-final. I mean, the conditions were bad, and Chelsea really kind of fought them, and they had to battle for that. Firstly, do you think that's going to take it out of them a little bit for the weekend? Maybe the focus was on that game this week. And then the other side to it, what do you think of Chelsea's approach to Arsenal set pieces? Because I saw the corners. They were just about to take the corner, and then 3 Chelsea players just started sprinting up the pitch.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Just have 10 of our players outside of the box all day. Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? It was interesting. In regards to, as I took them out, and this is kind of the thing, you know, you have got a few injuries, haven't they? Obviously, Saka's injured, but you know, the fact they've got, like, you know, some cracking players, you know, in depth who can come on and do just as good as a job. For me, with them, you know, yeah, they'll probably be tired and everything like that, because it was an attritional game, I think, was the best way to call it on Tuesday. It wasn't one for the purists, unlike last night, which was an excellent game of football, I thought. But yeah, you know, listen, we've got to go there and try and keep it Arsenal nil for as long as possible, I think. And if we can go there, you know, have a good first half where we do, you know, frustrate them and then look to try and get something on the counter. I think the longer we can keep it that they don't get their own way in that game is crucial for us. Because if they get one early on, I think you can kind of look at it. It might be a little bit of a hard day, because they just do not concede to them when they go in front. You know, so we'll see what happens. But I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, but cautiously optimistic about everything. So there we go.
well, let's move on to what Sunderland are going to do, because Gav, do you reckon Register Bris? I mean, look, we all love his plans. He's always got a plan for the opposition. But do you reckon he might have looked at that Chelsea game, because the way Chelsea set up and tried to just sit in, because the debate is obviously about Sunderland, whether they'll go 5 at the back and maybe go back to a similar shape we maybe had it, or, you know, at Liverpool, where we almost surprised them by going a little bit more 4-4-2. I mean, how do you think he's going to do it? Because the assumption is he's going to go 5 at the back, isn't it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be totally against that, if I'm honest. I think I know Chelsea, you technically lost the game 1-0, but they lost it when they were trying to really go for it at the end, didn't they? And Arsenal countered against them and scored. So you could say, you look at it, basically it was like a good defensive performance, really, from Chelsea. Like, if it had been a league game, they might have set up slightly differently. But yeah, I think we can take a lot from the way they played. And I actually quite like that tactic where they left loads of players out of the box to force Arsenal, because that's where they're strong. And I bet there's a lot of managers now will be looking at that and going, actually.
I think we'll do it, Gav.
Yeah. So I think it's certainly an approach we might take, but we would be, let's be honest, lads, we'd be absolutely over the moon with a point, wouldn't we? Like, a point would be an unbelievable result. So, and we've got plenty of practice at setting up away from home to be a bit horrible. And I know people are going to be clamoring for us to get away wins sooner rather than later. But away at the team who are going to probably win the league, I think we've just got to try and go there and not get beat, if I'm honest. And we'll go there to try and not get beat, but we'll still carry a threat. We'll have pace on the break. We know exactly what Brobbey can do, and half-fit Brobbey tortured Gabriel. So what can a fit Brobbey do? And that'll be playing on Gabriel and Saliba's mind. They'll not forget that goal at the Stadium of Light. So yeah, look, let's go there open-minded. If we can spring a surprise, then great. I mean, Ant kind of touched on it before, but it was only a fortnight ago that Man U went there and put 3 past them and beat them. And I know Man U are on a bit of a high at the minute, and they seem resurgent. But it shows it can be done, and it shows it can be done if you apply yourself and you work hard, and we will do that undoubtedly. So, and it's actually going to be quite nice as well, just to kind of step back into a question which we got earlier in the show. But it's nice to go away and be a underdog again. I think that suits us. Like, we went to West Ham and we went to Brentford and went to Tottenham, and maybe we were seen as more of an even keel with those teams, whereas in this case I think we're going to go there and we're probably going to be viewed very much as the underdog, and I think that might suit us. So don't write us off.
I mean, and just building off that, is this weirdly quite a good fixture to have? Because, you know, there's been a lot of talk. We haven't won away since the 25th of October against Chelsea. We've conceded 6 in the last 2 games. But if you look at who we've played, actually, as Gav said, there's been a little bit of expectation. You know, West Ham, Brentford, Spurs, who had a poor home form, Brighton before that, where we had to dig out a goalless draw. And probably our really last complete good away performance was maybe away at Liverpool at the beginning of December. And this is a similar fixture.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think had we say, Wolves away Saturday, there'd be a lot of expectation for us to go out and win, and there would be a lot of disappointment had we not. So this one, I think it's perfect for us. I actually think it's perfect for Register Bris as well, because I think mentioned before, being an underdog, I think that's where he thrives. That's where he gets. That's probably where he gets his kicks, literally, like of how to set up his teams, like how are we going to stop these from getting through. I think that's like he'll play in his mind a little bit. So I think that he's more adapt. I think he adapts himself better to those games. For one thing, we'll not show up on Saturday with a team that was playing against West Ham. You know what I mean? So we learned from that mistake pretty much very quickly. So no, I am. As I said before, you're thinking like, Sunderland fans will go on Arsenal away. You just mentioned before, we've never won at the Emirates. We haven't beaten them since 1983 in an away game. Well, I'm looking going down there thinking, bring it on, and you go there with little expectation. But I honestly can't. I don't think we'll get hammered on Saturday. I really don't. I think we'll set ourselves up really, really well. And it's one of them where I can just see them being a shock or two. I really can. But like I say, we'll see what happens. But for me, it really does. This is where Register Bris gets his kicks out. I think he'll be properly looking forward to Saturday. Like,
yeah. Gav, just quickly, we mentioned formation, but do you think it'll be the same starting 11 but a different shape?
Good question, Chris. I'm not sure. I think. Well, I think you could say, technically, Trey Hume has played as sort of this strange right wing, right midfield, right back sometimes when we haven't got the ball. So you can kind of see that. I think he might be tempted. He might just be tempted to bring in Getrauda for this one and change the shape. Maybe go with more of like a 4-man box midfield with a little bit less width. He's done that quite often, not necessarily with this group of players, because obviously Diarra hasn't been available. But he has done that away from home occasionally, where we've went with maybe Rig on the right hand side and things like that. So I can maybe see that, where instead of Talby starting, we might get Lefay more further out onto the left hand side, Diarra playing more on the right hand side, and then Geertruida and Siddiqui maybe taking up those middle positions, just because of how good Arsenal's midfield is. We don't want to get overrun in there, and I think we'll probably compensate for that with more bodies in the middle of the pitch. So I can't see making loads of changes. We haven't got loads of options, to be fair. Like, as much as the bench is pretty strong, you're not looking at Onai and Mundell, Isidore, Sirkin, Rig, Mayenda, Angulo, with it being his first sort of couple of days through the door. You're not looking at those players and saying you should be starting. The only one I would really say would be Geertruida. Like, maybe get him in to shore us up a little bit. But again, if you look at Chelsea and the way they set up against Arsenal, they went with like that was more of an actual back three, wasn't it, with wing backs? And we might even do that. We might just go, like, rather than telling Nordy to push on. Actually, I'm thinking about it now. You could even have Nordy playing as the wing back and have Geertruida playing as part of the back three, which he's done. I'm not sure which way we'll go with that, which is good because he always keeps us guessing, Reggie. But I'm tempted to say he'll start this one, particularly on the back. I think he actually would have started the Burnley game had he not had all that carry on with Liverpool the day before. But now that's settled down and it's out the way, and he's been back on the pitch in that Burnley game.
Yeah. Poor old Martin on a match day morning trying to guess Register Bris's starting 11. Doesn't stand a chance, does he? Well, look, I think we've gone long enough, so let's go into predictions, Ant, and we'll start with you. And if you want, I'll allow you to do a prediction from the head and one from the heart if you want.
Nah, I'll be ever the optimist, and I think it'll be 1-1. I don't know, Trey Hume, and he gets his first goal of the season with a thunderbolt.
Right, interesting, because I'm just trying to look, and the last time we did get a draw, we did get a point at the Emirates, was a goalless draw. Of course, that Dick Advocat goalless draw that we needed in May 2015, that was the last time we got a point at the Emirates. Absolutely.
What a performance
we needed
that was, by the way.
Jermaine Defoe left back. But
I always remember Quates playing really well in that game. I think he had a bit of a stormer. Aye. That was a day where we had to turn up
Well,
and
there's going to
defend.
be
Well,
another
we
one,
did.
Gav. So what do you reckon?
Bollocks, 1-0 to Sunderland.
Go on, then, give us a goal scorer.
Brian Broby. I think Gabriel and Saliba are still having nightmares about him. I think he's going to maybe inflict a bit more pain on them. Why not, man? Just be on. Let's get carried away, as the saying goes. Nah, if I'm that's what my heart's saying. My head's probably saying 0-0. I actually think we'll get something, Chris. I think we'll be one of the few teams to go to the Emirates this season and grab something. I just think I mentioned it before, style of play. I think we play quite a lot like Arsenal, and they're not going to like that. And they didn't like that at the Stadium of Light. They had a 20-minute. If you think about that game, they only had 20 minutes where they were on top. Otherwise, we were in control for big periods of that game. And I know the onus is back on them being the home side, being the league leaders, and of course they're going to be fancying themselves to win. But I just think that underdog story. Let's go there. Let's be a bit horrible. We'll be up for it. It's just a shame Granit Xhaka's not playing really, but otherwise, I think. I
absolutely love the confidence, gents. Considering Arsenal have won 9 out of 12 at home, conceded 8 in 12 games, and we've scored 6 in 12. But we're still. That's it.
We need to score one, Chris.
Confidence. But anyway, that just leaves me to say it's going to happen one day. It's going to happen one day. But anyway, that leaves me to just say thanks again for everyone for listening. Don't forget, we'll have loads with the pre-match build-up on the day of the game. We talked about Martin trying a second guest register Bris in the starting lineup. Hopefully, we'll also have opposition preview if all of that works out as it should. But we've got loads more on the Roker Report website. And don't forget, we'll have a pod immediately after the final whistle as well, which hopefully, if the lads are right, might be a good one if it all turns out like they're describing. So look out for all of that. But from us, it's bye for now.
Being in the army, you get these army songs and that. I used to love to sing them, entertain them on the bus.
Can you sign us off with the song then?
Aye.
Can we finish with the song?
Eh?
Oh, well then, let's hear a song from you.
Right. It's a sad one, really. It's about I couldn't get a ticket for the game. 10 lads dressed in red. 1 lad wearing green. Up for the cup in London town. That's where I long to be. But I couldn't get a ticket for the game. To see it on the telly's not the same. All the lads and lasses, they were leaving at the station. I couldn't get a ticket for the game. As I laid in my bed, I could lie and dream a dream of a Sunderland boy, just thinking of the team. But I couldn't get a ticket for the game. To see it on the telly's not the same. All the lads and lasses, they were leaving at the station, but I couldn't get a ticket for the game. 10 lads dressed in red. 1 lad wearing green. They climbed the steps and they took the cup for Bob, for them and me. Yes. I couldn't get a ticket for the game, but Sunderlanders won it just the same. All the lads and lasses, they were dancing at the station. I couldn't get a ticket for the game. No, I couldn't get a ticket for the game.
Love it, George. I think it deserves a round
after that. Well done, George. Thank you.
What a great way to finish. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, George. Cheers.
Brilliant, George. Thank you.